I'll tell stories today that will let us realize how insignificant our troubles are compared to God or a higher force. These stories will emphasize our value. I promise that listening to these stories will erase your worries and problems and leave you feeling grateful. Experience this story with Robert's male voice. Please subscribe to the channel and comment whenever you want to talk to me. I'll await you. Have fun listening. When I was 19, I discovered my girlfriend was cheating with one of my best friends. I washed down numerous medications with rum. Mom summoned an ambulance, and I went to the hospital. Out before I arrived. I felt euphoric after using drugs or becoming intoxicated. Who knows how long, but I felt like I was in bed and slipping off to my left. No intoxication or fogging. My inclination was to grasp the bed and jump up. Panic overcame me. I saw houses, jaguars, and people I had never seen before. I was immediately tossed back on the table. I woke up to a doctor massaging my chest. He didn't move when I tried to sit up. I entered him again and saw his wife, kids, and automobile. I sensed his anxiety. It was overwhelming. I fell back on the table, repulsed by these visions. I looked right to view my body as I slipped left again. A burst of blue light appeared to my left. I saw a column of light descend to the floor as I looked around the room. A voice from my right said, "It's all right, we'll save you." I saw a blue fairy take my hand. A green light approached from my left, but it grabbed my hand and hauled it above my head. They pushed me upright and into the corner on the right side of the room so I couldn't see what it was. Shook them off to see what was going on. The doctor was trying to revive me. The nurse was putting an oxygen mask on my head, and my mom was in the doorway with her arms crossed. The small blue angel remarked, "We don't have time, we have to hurry." As I understood the situation, they led me into the column of light, which was a trip. The motion and light made me feel sick, so I closed my eyes and opened them sometimes out of curiosity. While traveling, I observed a dog lead someone up the stairway to heaven. Clouds appeared. I observed a massive crowd in front of the gate of heaven as I looked over my shoulder and down. I was placed in a room within the gate to the right by the small angels. A minute of kneeling with my eyes closed. As I considered how cold it was, it stopped. I woke up in a cloud-walled room. I was walking toward the clouds when a voice said, "Don't do it. You'll regret it. You'll be lost forever." I turned around and was upset because I wanted to die. I realized this wasn't what I expected. It wasn't dead. It merely lived elsewhere. I was an arrogant, furious 19-year-old. I thought, so this is heaven. At least they could have given me a bench or something to sit on. As I looked down, a white marble bench was there. Great, a marble bench. I bet this is going to be cold. It wasn't. A corner of the room flattened when I sat down. Dark, swirling clouds became seen. 3 individuals, silhouetted by a strong light, stood at the elevator-like opening. I saw and felt them. Another old lady responded, "See, I told you so," to my grandmother. A young girl squealed into the room and sat next to me as the third. She asked me what occurred when the door closed. Her sympathy and kindness appeared to bring out my concerns, which I'm not good at sharing strangers. She took me many places. The first resembled Christmas Carol. She showed me important things from my past, things I did that impressed people, and things people said I never knew. She showed me the people my death and life would influence. It barely affected my selfish, egotistical 19-year-old self. Next thing I knew, I was waking up in a sunny green field. I heard southern, hillbilly voices of a girl and 2 guys. They laughed and laughed stupidly. I got up carefully to peer over the grass for who it was. A decrepit shack was there. A breeze blew across the field, and I smelled the worst. The talking people were not persons when I saw them. Although wearing overalls, they had jackal faces. They ran to me as they saw me. I was asked my name and origin. Suddenly, one pointed skyward. As I gazed, a line appeared, and the sky split. A huge brown beast jumped out and landed next to me. He had 5 or 6 eyes, horns on his head, and cussed violently. He looked like a cartoon, not a movie creature. He stank and was unpleasant to listen to. His utterances were curses and slurs. I don't recall what he said, but he grabbed me and jumped back into the skyhole. TV screens lined a space pad where we landed. They were cubes. The control panel was podium-like. He informed me this was hell, and each cube had a soul-specific hell. He explained that hell changes because people adapt to different hells and are more tolerant of certain things. He loved seeing others suffer. As I moved along the cube wall, I was sucked into one and into a small white chamber with a door and shelf. The door opened, and a handsome couple entered. They were kind and asked what they could get me. In unfamiliar environments, I don't eat or drink, just me. I won't indulge till I'm comfortable. I kept saying no, but they kept harassing me until it got so annoying that I said, "Sure, a sandwich and a Coke." They left and returned with them. Since I was doubtful, I left them on the shelf. They then begged me to eat and enjoy. I eventually bit, but I checked to be sure it was what I thought. I hated the taste after biting into it. I spit it out and got a Coke since it was so bad. Just as bad. I had to spit it out. As I tried to swallow the foul taste, they laughed. Funny, huh? Someone apologized and offered to get me another. I declined, and they again assured me they were joking and wouldn't do it again. After stopping conversing to them, I saw that these two attractive people had jackal faces with transparent masks. I realized I could see through their masks, and this was just torture. I was quickly pulled from the cube. All of a sudden, I was getting glimpses of my worst deeds and put in other people's shoes while I hurt them. I was insensitive to others without realizing it. Reliving things I forgot or didn't care about was terrible and overwhelming. I felt what I made others feel. The cold made me shudder. I realized I was somewhere. I kneeled in a cave after opening my tearful eyes. It was gloomy and had a low ceiling and cold, wet floor. I felt abandoned and alone. I tried to navigate the cave at night. I couldn't crawl without getting wet, and the low ceiling made standing up difficult. I was cold and didn't want to get wet. Soon an amber light appeared. I hoped this light would warm it. Near the light, I saw a mob kneeling at an aperture. Fire was evident within. A female kneeling with her wrists cut, a man with a rope around his neck, and another with his head blown out were there. I heard screaming from the cave ahead, and tried to talk to someone to find out where I was. I was warned to keep quiet, or I would be next. Then a large, ugly beast grabbed and dragged them out of the cave. I scared I would be next in the cave. I kneeled and closed my eyes, again overwhelmed by sights and emotions of my life's horrible occurrences. I opened my eyes and understood I had to wish to close them. I looked around and realized why everyone looked like zombies. You can't close your eyes, talk to others, stand up, sit down, or do anything but kneel on your toes and knees. The only thing you could do was watch the fire, hear the screaming, and hope you weren't next. A 40-year-old man in a robe with a trimmed beard and bald head was there. He looked like a monk, so I wondered if it was Judas. After a while, my eyes burned so badly that I felt it was worth it to put up with the terrible flashes to close my eyes. I softly cried as my bad actions flashed in, and I heard her voice. I thought, if you ask him, maybe he will save you. I said, say it, say the words, Jesus Christ, my Savior in heaven, please save me. I repeated what the speaker stated. The flashes stopped after the yelling. It was quiet. A man in a huge stone chair appeared as I looked up. The silver-winged monster next to him wore a helmet with wings. The woman on his left had some really old males behind her. Space platform with stars as eyes. I saw Jesus the angel on his right and the Blessed Virgin Mary on his left. I assumed the aged guys were Abraham, Moses, or one of the disciples, like Peter or Paul. Jesus' disappointment made me feel humiliated and touched my spirit. The angel of the Lord asked, "Tell our Lord what brings you here." I responded I didn't want to live in an unfair world. He looked at me like I was insane and replied, "Who told you it was going to be a fair world?" That confused me. The girl I met in heaven swooped in and took me to a dark hall. She informed me she had something to show me when I asked where we were at a big entryway. The door opened and many emerged. I recognized a bunch of priests from my childhood religious experience at Versailles. That memory returned briefly. We entered as the room emptied. A large round table with a three-dimensional display was in the middle of the universe in the dark. The old guy inquired, "And why are you here?" As she brought me to him, she explained. I felt unfairly treated by life. He thought this was absurd, that I would think this, and said that the globe on the table was the universe, and that all the stars and their groupings had meanings. The arrangement of stars in the universe affects people's births and lives. He said the Lord protects souls in paradise. Everyone has a status based on their tangible accomplishments and lessons. He said individuals are never satisfied and always want to go forward. Heavenly souls are alike. He explained that I begged this council to give me material life. He said I made a well-thought-out case and used many intelligent individuals to select where, when, and to whom I would be born. I chose my name for a reason, and I'm responsible for my life. He said that I made a promise to the Creator and must keep it or pay the price. He concluded his lecture by saying I knew the risks and consequences and had been warned. Returning to finish was my only option. I didn't speak edgewise. This didn't go over well with me at 19. I thought he was a harsh old man with a horrible attitude, since he threw us out of the room and slammed the door. On the podium before Jesus again, the Blessed Mother inquired about my learning. I told her it wasn't right that I had to put up with people hurting me, that Jesus was supposed to protect me, and that if I went back, he should make it right. He answered, "My son, I cannot cause pain to another. I can only heal those who are broken." In my youth, I attempted the "I want to talk to the manager" approach and requested to talk to God. The Blessed Mother responded, "You cannot see God." Jesus said, "No one can see God." The Blessed Mother was outraged and instructed me to kneel before this great healer and ask forgiveness. I kneeled. I felt disappointed and astonished by my arrogance. I started crying, and Jesus asked, "Do you know why I saved you from the pit of purgatory?" I said, "No." He said, "Remember the old man, the one you thought was Judas. This showed me that you believe. You truly believe." I realized that Jesus had always been with me. He was with me through everything, and my faith means more than I thought. He saw something in me even. I started crying. Severely that I was frozen on me. I cried furiously on the floor. The Blessed Mother told me to kiss his feet. It felt like crawling with a concrete block on my back. Crawling 5 feet took me 5 minutes. When I reached his feet, they were grimy and worn, like a guy who had never worn shoes, and walked everywhere their whole life. I kissed these yellow split toenail feet even though I'd rather kiss a baboon's behind. After doing so, I was dragged back to the material world and screamed out to stay. Jesus said, "Give me a chance. Give me a chance to make it right." I thought, great, in the end. That means it will all be screwed up until I die. In the end, when will that be? Mother Mary gave me a message. The message was brief and contained words, photos, and feelings. I saw future events that mostly happened, which no one could have predicted. I noticed a circle with an eye in the middle as I returned via the tunnel. As it spun, I saw scenes around it like a clock of people and places moving simultaneously. This was God, and he had let me see him in the only manner I could. That vision comforted me, even though Jesus stated I could not see God. I went calmly after realizing Jesus was always with me, since God had given me that feeling. My heartbeat returned as I re-entered my body. I felt agony, warmth, and discomfort from lying still for a long time. My coma lasted 3 days, and I couldn't answer. Because I thought I would forget, I kept thinking about the incidents. I once felt a warm hand in mine and strained to open my eyes to see who it was. Young girl with long brown hair held my hand next to my bed. After waking up, I asked the nurse who she was and where she went. She was shocked when I described her, but she stated that the intensive care unit had no young girls and had not allowed anyone outside in 3 days. 4 old ladies worked 12-hour shifts for years as the only employees. I believed it was a dream, but she told me I had died for 6 minutes and been in the ICU for 3 days. Today's experience ended. If this tale moved you like it did us, subscribe and like the video. These ties allow us to share stories that illuminate hidden mysteries. Shine your light and know there is hope beyond it. In the second story, the entire afterlife vision will be described. I hope you enjoy listening. January 3, 2018 was stormy and rainy. Duck hunting with my friend's niece and father was planned. I was sick while on vacation. We called off hunting due to bad weather. Since I felt wonderful, I started fixing things around the house while my wife worked. After installing and testing a thermostat, I found a loose floor transition strip. I stood up after nailing it. After changing the TV station and scratching myself, my chest felt like a vibrating pager. That usually makes me weak and exhausted. I informed doctors about the butterfly feeling years ago when I felt my body was shutting down. The vibration was in my chest, not my stomach. I was prescribed medicine for an erratic heartbeat after tests. 2 years later, during a hospital stress test, I stopped taking the drug. I wanted to work out more than take the prescription. I checked my blood pressure after my heart started beating. 75 BPM, 156/106. This was record high. Still, I felt fine. I thought a hot shower might help. After the first intense pain, I realized I was experiencing a heart attack. It felt like a 16-pound bowling ball pushing up my neck with a truck on my chest. No amount of fractured bones or torn ligaments compared to the misery of attempting to survive. After learning CPR and first aid, I slowed down. After rinsing, I contacted 911 and my wife. I felt another searing pain. I sat in the recliner. First responders arrived. The paramedics arrived after the firefighters. They questioned me. My wife drove up in a panic as the medic screamed, "We have to go. We're losing him." The fire captain was told by paramedics to detain and remove her. During the ride to the hospital, the medic asked if the fireman had informed me. "No," I said. He muttered, "Great, always leave it on us to give the bad news." I glanced at him and said, "I know I'm having a heart attack and dying. Don't worry about it. You do your job, and I'll do mine by trying to stay alive." My anguish intensified. I heard him discussing pain. After the blood pressure machine tightened on my right arm, the pain stopped. I asked him to keep my right arm pressured so I could make it. His first mistake was saying depression was frequent. I said, "I'm not depressed. Lock down my right arm." He replied the machine was automatic. Pressure released as I prepared to advise him to apply a tourniquet. I thought, oh no, too late. I convulsed and shook uncontrollably. Felt cold. The medic said, "We're losing him." I blacked out. I regained consciousness while being extricated from the ambulance. We reached pre-op. My eyes rolled up, the lights went out, and I thought, thank God it's over. I was in complete darkness. This brought me immense joy, love, and happiness. I couldn't put my feelings into words. I saw a light brighten as the feelings grew, feeling like I was in a fog. People were silhouetted by the brilliant light. One person was lying horizontally next to me, hustling around the body. I liked the light and vibe. I heard 200 joules set clear. I tried to scream, no. It lurches aloft and lands on the table, bringing me back to my body. I thought, wow, that was the best sleep I've ever had. I felt great. I thought, what a weird dream. The male nurse resumed CPR. I remembered being hospitalized for a heart attack. My eyes were still closed. I was too weak to stop him or speak. He's beating me. I barely saw the female doctor remove the intubation tube. I thought, oh shoot, they're going to cut me open. Someone was on my right. My eyes are blinking furiously as I stare at him. I think he's back when he glances down and sees me blinking and says, stop. No one listens, so they beat me. Stopping, the nurse lifts the oxygen mask. I add, yeah, I'm back. Get off me. I managed to lift my right hand, shake their hands, and apologize for being in pain while the nurses pushed me to the surgical room. The doctor instructed me not to do that again after she sarcastically mentioned anything. I told her I wouldn't if they guaranteed not to strike me with 200 joules again. They stopped pushing the cart and inquired how I knew. The nurses started sedating me in the surgical room and I thought, I died on you, didn't I? You only shock us to bring us back. While the doctor explained the operation, I informed him I knew what to do. He says, okay, you do know you can't move when we're doing this procedure. I say, better hurry. We identified one artery, not the widowmaker. Next day, I'll tell family and friends my story. Someone asks if I brought anything else. I chuckle and remark, you've watched too many horror movies. But then I think, look around and reply, yes, I did, but you're not going to like it. No one demanded more, so I stopped. After everything calmed down, my best friend and others asked. I add, there's something coming. Thousands, if not millions, are going to die. There's going to be a massive effort to save everyone, and we shouldn't do it. They said, "Is it a war?" I said, "It wasn't like I had a conversation." But no, it wasn't a war. Something about trying to save everyone, and don't do it. Another thing, if you think on your deathbed that you can just arbitrarily ask for forgiveness and it's given, you be wrong. You're going to pay. You need to make amends before that moment. I dislike people forcing others to believe. We have free will for a reason. His goal is for everyone to find it inside themselves. Trust your heart. Do right and you'll be okay. Make amends. Since returning, I've remembered childhood mistakes I'd forgotten. I remembered even dumb things I said to laugh but wounded someone terribly. I've paid my dues since my heart attack. I always say yes to Jesus and the afterlife questions. My response to their questions is, I can't tell you what to do. You have to find it in you. I guess I'm returning to tell my experience and be a messenger. This remarkable narrative reminds us of the great secrets we cannot grasp. It's a great reminder to embrace every moment, find our inner truth, and be kind and forgiving. We question life's meaning and the world's possibilities after such a tremendous encounter. It challenges us to reassess our priorities, repair damaged relationships, and strive for love, compassion, and understanding. This incredible vacation reminds us to cherish life and make the most of it. It encourages us to be ourselves, follow our hearts, and make amends when necessary. Let's be grateful for our time, cherish our family, and approach each day with an open heart as we contemplate this great story. Please investigate the secrets beyond the light until the next episode. Thanks for coming this far. I appreciate you greatly. I like to know who has heard the whole tale, so please leave an comment on this video. I hope these stories have improved your life even little. Please follow me and help me grow on my channel. I await your next video.